So we need that kind of stuff which mixes the environment and ties it up to the current social thing as well. You know, we need to think like that. We need to sing like that. We need to encourage young people to make songs about their reality. I'm 57. My reality, I will be dead by the time uh, climate change hits us so hard.
So will I be, I suppose. But then we're trying to do our job as much as possible, you know, within within our lives itself, you know.
So I think the one thing is to not be serious about it. Because if you're serious about it, then the reality hits you so hard that it some way impedes action. It's such a huge reality that maybe you should just say, okay, it's going to happen. Let me have fun trying to make it not happen. Let me sing and dance and make music and make it about these things, but not sit there with my head in my hand saying, oh, we are doomed. You know?
We're starting this new series where we are having conversations with people who have excelled in their fields, fields which are not necessarily environment, excelled in their fields, but take their roots from environments. And what better than starting with you, Rahul? Rahul Ram, vocalist, guitarist, composer, and member of the Indian Ocean Band, and more recently, a sit down artist with Aisi Taisi Democracy. The year was 1991, and the anti Narmada movement was at its peak. The Narmada Bachao Andolan had called for a meeting in the Narmada Valley, a village called Bamni, small village called Bamni, which is almost totally submerged now. And I had come there representing Intact, the Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage. You were already there. You were already there in the valley, and then I stayed on for a few days. You were there long term in the valley at that time. I remember you used to. I mean, while after we bathed and when we dried our towels in the river mist, like this, you used to
Yeah.
sing. You used to sing those days itself like a ball. You had a ball like voice, and you used to sing. It was very pleasant. I mean, like that moist wind hitting against our face, and your music. I mean, you even then you had you had a beard and long hair, not gray, of course. It was very black,
All black.
all black. So was mine at that time. Then into 20 years later, 2011, I was in West Africa those days, and I had come to India for a holiday, and I wanted to check in what the Indian music scene was. And then on YouTube, I heard you singing "Are Ruk Ja Re Bande," and then when your voice went to those high levels, I realized it was I reconnected with you. I mean, the ball singer from who sang like a ball from Narmada Bachao Andolan group.
Baul,
And
Baul, not Baul,
Baul,
Baul.
not Baul,
Uh,
okay, Baul singer. Okay, that's
uh,
how it is said, Baul. Okay. And between 1990 and 95, you were an activist for the Narmada Bachao Andolan. And while
yes.
at Delhi, you played your guitar and sang. Maybe that's where the root of all this sang. What attracted you to environment, Rahul? I mean, I know you have a degree in a PhD from Cornell in environmental toxicology, but obviously that your calling is far beyond that. I mean, it's not the degree that brought you to the Narmada Bachao Andolan. What brought you there?
Okay, so I started learning about environmental issues in school, and there was a bunch of people who were going off to Sundarlal Bahuguna ji's ashram
Siliara.
in Tehri Garhwal,
Yeah,
Siliara mein,
yeah.
and I went with them, and that was my first actual introduction to a village-based environmental movement. And then the students formed a student group, environmental action group called Kalpavriksha, Ashish Kothari. So I was a member of Kalpavriksha. And the best thing was discussions amongst us taught me more about environmental issues and pointed me in directions that I then started reading about. I read Silent Spring. I did some research on Delhi DDT, because Delhi humans had the highest level of DDT in their body fat anywhere in the world. And so I got interested in the whole pesticides issue, and then from pesticides. So pesticides, environment, people's environment. I was fond of chemistry. I did chemistry in college. And so it all kind of started adding up. I also went, because Kalpavriksha at that time was helping out in this massive Indian National Parks and Sanctuaries project. So as part of that, we used to try and go and do some ground truthing, because you can't rely on everything the forest department tells you, obviously. So I've been to Rajaji before it became the national park. So at that time, it was 3 different sanctuaries. There was Rajaji, and I forget the other, Chila and Motichur, all of which became then the Rajaji National Park 10 years down the road. I went to Perambikulam in Kerala.
Yeah.
And before going to Perambikulam, we had actually gone from Chennai. So we'd gone to Ambur, which is, Ambur?
Yeah, Ambur. Yeah.
So the tanneries. Where there are so many tanneries and the groundwater pollution issue, and the chrome tanneries versus the non-chrome tanneries. And so all of it was adding to my, so I think I became an environmentalist at that point. And then from there, going on to do a PhD in environmental toxicology was a natural step. I did my master's in IIT Kanpur. I did my bachelor's in Stephens, both in chemistry, and kept doing this environmental thing all through. And, along the way, you become a bird watcher and you do this and you do that. So then that's it. Environmental toxicology, PhD, finished and came back here as an unemployed postgraduate. And my wife at that time, Amita Bhaviskar, was doing her PhD thesis on the Narmada Bachao movement. So I learned about it from her, and then Ashish Kothari said that, listen, we have a space open for somebody who we call it campaigns coordinator for Narmada. So will you work with us on that? So I started working on that, and that's how I got involved in the Narmada movement. Actually, the songs we used to sing in the Narmada movement are not explicitly environmental songs. Okay? So they are more political songs than environmental songs. So Mareva is an environmental song in context. It is just a hymn to the river. Ki Mareva tharo pani nirmal khal khal beto jaye. This is a hymn. But in the context of the movement of people living on her banks against their lives getting destroyed, it becomes an environmental song, because it was the first song sung at meetings and things. And there were other songs which didn't, much more political, like most of the Bilali songs, the Adivasi songs.
Yeah. Mareva is what language?
Mareva is a dialect of Hindi called Nimadi.
Okay.
So the caste Hindus of that area are mainly Patidars, who are Patels, who had actually migrated from Gujarat to that area in British times, because the British wanted to chase the Bhils out. So they brought in these guys and told them that jitna dawn to dusk, however much your bullock can make a furrow, that much land will be given to you. So all this I got through the archival research of Dr. Amita Bhaviskar. So she learned all this. In fact, the Patidars don't have this memory of how they came there. And so these songs, Narmada Andolan actually does not have explicitly environmental songs. That is what is interesting, And neither did the Chipko. The Chipko had songs like Swarga Utara Khand Bhumi, Hamara Dev Utara Khand Bhumi, which are just extolling the virtues of your land. And through that, the love for land and the love for nature, yes. But not, there were songs like Nakata Nakata Jungle, Nakata Jangalyo. So yes, there was some. But Narmada mein, jo, there were songs about migratory labor because all these Adivasis go off. Munde to bemeli me now sari ma basai yala hamarami kati mat karive. So a Bangla kunin se tara malik kunin se. Now that would, so they are saying that we do all the labor.
Yes.
But the fruit of our labor belongs to you.
Oh, very strongly
So much more
political.
political.
Yeah. Yeah.
No environment there. And so a lot of these songs, just like Chitu, the song we were just talking about, that is also written by Shankar Bhai Tadavla, who's a Bilali activist, Adivasi. And he actually learned from Amita the stories of the Bhil heroes who fought against the British in the 1857 war. So Chitu was a Bhil hero of that time. So he made it into a song कि चीतू तारो बंगलो सिरकार हाप के ले दोली एकाई भाली रही कि चीतू तेरे बंगले को सिरकार ने छीन के ले लिया है खड़े खड़े क्या देख रहा है. So he goes from Chitu to Motia Bhil to Bamnia Naik. All he goes through this, and his last lines are Bhilu taro abru sirkar hapke le duli ekai bhali कि भील तेरे आबरू को सरकार ने छीन लिया. हाँ, खड़े खड़े क्या देख रहा है. So these are political songs. These are not environmental songs, And it says so much because it's another song we sing, Indian Ocean, again written by Shankar Bhai, is Nakedar Ave Kukudi Mangere. The police comes and asks for kukudi, that is a chicken, as a bribe. Rinzar Ave. Rinzar is forest ranger. Rinzar Ave poiha mangere, paisa mangta hai, bribe. Okay, so hivi juni aptara कि पहले की तरह अब हम नहीं देंगे. वागने वासड़ा अब आदिवासी रहा कि हम आदिवासी लोग शेर के बछड़े हैं. So interesting that in just 4 lines you convey corruption. You convey the states taking bribes from you. You convey that I used to give these bribes earlier, but now I won't give it. So it's a song about corruption, about Adivasi self-identity and pride. So difficult for a Shahri or a town person to put this complex thoughts into one simple 4-liner. Interesting, no? That I've always found that when poets in villages write stuff, they write it more simply, but the thoughts are complex. Whereas when town people start making environmental music, they have to dot the I's and cross the T's. Because we are singing our music to people who don't understand the context. Whereas when Shankar is making a song for the people in his village, they understand the context. The minute you say Nakedar Ave Kukdi Mange, you are like, yeah, of course, Nakedar Ave Kukdi Mange. So complex ideas put into simple language and with an interesting tune. These 3 are important for a good song, to be political or to be environmental. Like I remember once listening to a lady called Holly Near, who was a political singer. And she said there is nothing more boring than a boring political song. So it has to be musically interesting as well. Just the lyrics are not enough for the musician. And that is true for almost everything. All kind of, if you're singing about any issue, like I will Medha Patkar will kill me for this, but her favorite song was one of the most boring
Medha, make
songs.
sure you tune into this, okay, Medha, please.
Medha's favorite song during those Narmada days was इसलिए राह संघर्ष की हम चुने जिंदगी आंसुओं से नहाई न हो, and sung at this speed. शाम से भी न हो रात हो.
I'm sure she's going to kill you for this.
Thing is, she would sing with a lot of soul and
yeah.
feeling and meaning for her, because the lyrics were saying exactly why इसलिए राह संघर्ष की हम चुने. And there is one very badmash activist at that time who still actually does very interesting work on water, Shripad Dharmadhikari.
Shripad, yeah.
So
Excellent work.
Shripad one day told me, listen, I have found that these lyrics fit exactly into a Hindi film song. And he sang it to me. So it is, इसलिए राह संघर्ष की हम चुने, जिंदगी आंसुओं में नहाई न हो, शाम से मी न हो, रात हो ना डरी, भोर की आंख फिर दबदबाई न हो. Much more interesting, you know.
And people will listen to it. No, I mean, you will hear it in other places also.
I'll tell you the funny part is that when I got out of jail in this Narmada thing in 93, there was a big meeting in the Tehsil headquarters, and I had just gotten out of jail, and Meda said, Rahul, jao, or isliye raha sang, isliye gao. And I went to the mic to sing Isliye, and the only tune that was coming in my head was the Hindi film song.
Did you sing that?
No.
Your father was a botany professor. Mother was a communist supporter. And
no, my mother was a communist supporter in her youth. I think she remained one in her head, but she was a botany teacher of botany as well.
Okay. And
so
your
she
uncle
used to teach botany in Miranda House.
Okay.
And my father used to teach botany at the university department at Delhi University.
Okay. And your uncle was a very famous journalist and also at one time advisor to the Prime Minister. So how much did you draw from them, your framework on environment and politics and democracy and from your family background?
You know, my parents were very nice people, frankly. And so the discussions on environment that I used to have with my peers, I could have the same discussions with my parents and get their view about things. For example, this whole eucalyptus thing had become very big at that time.
Yes.
And
Vandana and Jayanto's report, yeah.
So my dad, in fact, didn't know that eucalyptus, the negatives of eucalyptus. And he said, really? Acha, because Australia mein to eucalyptus ke 600 species hai. So there's only 2 species in India. He said, so, the eucalypts are all over the Australian forests. And if they sucked the water dry, then there would have been something there. And then after reading and talking to people, so then, so it's good to get a different perspective. It's good to be able to argue. It's good to be able to do these things. And they had very high ethical and moral codes, so to speak. And so I learned a lot about approach to life from them, number one. Number two, they were very happy that I was doing this environmental stuff. There was never a negative comment. A lot of young people say, yeah, my parents don't like me doing what I'm doing. So these guys actually supported me all through. They were happy that I did my master's. They were happy I did my PhD. When I came back and said, look, I'm going to be with the Andolan, they were actually supportive. And I have another Tau who was a Hindi journalist, Narayan Datta. So he was very, very pleased. He said, it's very good because this is like the second freedom struggle. And we all participated in the first freedom struggle. And he was not a very rich man, but he used to sometimes give donations to the Andolan through me. And so I had a very, very supportive background. Obviously, wife was also supportive because she was also in the Andolan. She also went on to become a activist there. And so, because she was doing, that kind of anthropology, which is immersive anthropology. So participant observation, it's called. And then I started playing guitar again to earn money because there is no money. And so Delhi mein wo karta tha. I used to be mostly in Delhi and keep going to the valley whenever I was asked to. Events move in ways which you cannot control. And so there was a point in 93 when I got arrested and sent to jail in Alirajpur in the Narmada Valley. And I was...
In Chitto's bungalow?
Yeah, that one. So one of our songs, which I learned from a poet there, became an Indian Ocean song almost 20 years after this happened. So in fact, you'll be pleased to know that the man who collaborated with us on this track is none other than Selva Ganesh, the Kanjira player. See, because a lot of the Adivasi songs, they cycle in a 10-beat structure. So which is quite unusual enough. And we thought that we'll do this with Selva because for him, 10-beat structure is nothing. He can cycle in 17 or 19 or anything because that guy, the mathematics in his head, it's amazing. And yeah. Anyway, so I digress. I will keep digressing.
No problem. You want to sing one line of Chittu because it's also one of the songs which in our group we really like very much. So one line if you want to. Yeah.
I'll count it for you. Chittu taro bangalo sirkar hap kele doliye kae balirio 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 motya taro matawad.
You also went into Aisi Taisi democracy, so and the format is different. I mean, one is of course you work slightly more modularly. I mean, IOB, you have a larger group to think of, and I mean, will that help you? This new format help you to get issues which you were not covered earlier, environmental issues that were covered into the narrative, into what you communicate?
Yes. So, for example, we did that pollution song. Just for the viewers, I will say that the songs in Aisi Taisi Democracy are mostly parodies of existing Hindi film songs. There are 3 or 4 songs that we have made on our own, original tunes, but this is a parody of a song that I love very, very much, and I have destroyed it for myself forever. Okay. So the original is, of course, Pal Pal Dil Ke Paas Tum Rehti Ho, Jeevan Meethi Pyar Ye Kehti Ho, Pal Pal Dil Ke Paas Tum Rehti Ho, Har Sham, whatever. Then so what we made it into was पल पल पोल्यूशन में मैं रहता हूँ, लंग्स में लग गई जंग ये कहता हूँ, पल पल पोल्यूशन में मैं रहता हूँ, हर शाम AQI जब मैं चेक करता हूँ, एक सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्टिव सी फिर आह भरता हूँ, मैं सांस लेता हूँ तो खांसी आती है, etc. So it goes on like that. And मैं अस्थमा की नाली में खुल के बहता हूँ, पल पल पोल्यूशन में मैं रहता हूँ. The next verse is also interesting. कोई कहता है गाड़ी के धुएं की गलती है, कोई कहता है क्रॉप बर्निंग का सिस्टम गिल्टी है, सब एक दूजे पे फिर बस ब्लेम गिराते हैं और मास्क पहन के डेली फिर काम पे जाते हैं और नेता बैठ के सब बस खुजाते हैं. So we left out one keyword there. So we are getting into urban decay and blight as part of what ATD also wants to sing about. And the why these songs work is because they say serious things, but in a funny way, And so lyrics remain. And because the tune is familiar, the lyrics will remain even more.
I wanted to ask you about languages, changing formats, changing platforms, changing issues, so that music and environment confluence sort of continues remaining relevant. What's the kind of future you see? Because you yourself have changed your format and language a little.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing both. Indian Ocean gives me as much pleasure as Acid Democracy does. But Indian Ocean is not an overtly political band, whereas Acid Democracy is an overtly political outfit. So I do think that all of us have different facets that cannot be satisfied by just one, especially an artist, or a singer or a musician, that they need to go in different directions and to satisfy the different things that are inside themselves. And I think, unfortunately, the social churn of today is making those issues more pressing. So one will have to weigh and bring in environmental issues in ways that are accessible to people, make songs about that, which also has the element of resistance built into it, and not acquiescence and not sarkari music, like I was saying, you know, and maybe collaborate with other people in other countries, because now that's becoming much more of a possibility with internet and such like. How to present a complex problem? I think you cannot present the whole problem. It took a genius of a Bob Dylan to sing "A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall," right? When they were the radioactive fallout of the nuclear testing, um, and which then became applicable even when acid rain started happening in the US in the 80s, like almost 2 decades after he first sang the song. So we need that kind of stuff which mixes the environment and ties it up to the current social thing as well. We need to think like that. We need to sing like that. We need to encourage young people to make songs about their reality. I'm 57. My reality, I will be dead by the time climate change
Hits
hits
hard.
us so hard.
Yeah. So will I be, I suppose. But then we're trying to do our job as much as possible, you know, within our lives itself, But
Yeah. So I think the one thing is to not be serious about it.
yeah.
Because if you're serious about it, then the reality hits you so hard that it some way impedes action. It's such a huge reality that maybe you should just say, okay, it's gonna happen. Let me have fun trying to make it not happen. Let me sing and dance and make music and make it about these things, but not sit there with my head in my hand saying, oh, we are doomed. I think that's the way to go. And that's the way to get more people interested. Because nobody, like I said, nobody wants to listen to a boring political song. And the thing is that nowadays, there's a lot of rap coming in. And rap is an interesting thing that people in India, young people in India, they have actually jumped 2 steps. They have gone straight from folk to rap. In the film music, all of us have somewhere, or film music in our heads. But these days, jump the intermediate steps and they rap. I have two. So one is that rap requires less of an acquisition of musical skills. Okay? Because it's about the skill to speak and speak well and rapidly and in rhythm. That's the skill. It does not require you to spend 20 years learning an instrument. Right? And my music part of the rap is A, less, and B, all electronically available. So that can be generated more easily. C, young people have a lot to say. And rap allows you to say a lot.